Anne from Game Like a Mother. Today I'm going to show you how to play Look at the Stars. It's ages 8 and up, 2 to 8 players, and it takes 20 minutes. Let me show you how to play.
The goal of the game is to get the most points. You get points by drawing constellations on your personal card, which is the night sky, and you're gonna have a bunch of these cards that you see it, you draw it. It's a flip and write. That's what's pretty great. It's pretty intuitive to get the basics of it down. The setup is the same no matter how many players you're playing with. Each player gets their own board, which is slightly different. And then you start out with 2 specialty rule cards. These are the 2 they suggest you use for your first time playing, but there are a number of different star cards with different rules to use for future games, and some are a bit more advanced. You're going to place 3 stacks of 6 cards face down, and then you start playing. And you flip over the first one, and the rule is you draw this, and you cannot, you can orient it however you like, but you cannot flip it mirror image. So everybody takes a turn drawing. You have these really neat white chalk pens that you're going to use, and the rule is it can cross over or intersect with another line that you have, but you can't only do part of the drawing. And it also cannot connect to any of the planets, the other constellations that are already on the card, or the little people. So there are a few things to look out for as you play, but this would be allowed to do this. And all that makes a constellation is it has to be at least 3 lines, and then it counts as a constellation. But for scoring purposes at the end, you only can have, for your main scoring, you only count 1 of each of your constellations that are 3 lines, 1 of your constellations that are 4, 1 that's 5, and so on, 3 through 8. And if you play out these cards, generally you just barely make it. It helps if you use these bonuses, which I'll explain in a second. This is the mirror image of what we just drew, and everybody's drawing them at the same time. It doesn't have to connect to a former line, but it is key. You notice I'm drawing down here at the bottom primarily, and that is because part of the game is as the sun rises as you play. So once you get through this stack of 6 cards, you're no longer allowed to play below these lines here. Everything has to be above. So generally you kind of start down at the base, and then you work your way up because you can't use the base later on. And the constellations this is a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 line constellation. You keep on going. They all have different, so this one, they can't connect it to the planet. They can have little gaps in them. That's part of it. And you have to make sure that you're drawing it right, because sometimes you draw it and you realize, oh, I'm going to draw this here and over here, and I'm not allowed because it has to have a gap there. So I'm just going to draw these in quickly for all of these. They would probably do some different, not all have it the same orientation, because the next one, yeah, I rigged it. The other thing that can come up is you can have a shooting star. And a shooting star is always diagonal across your night sky. And you can choose to make it 1, 2, or 3 in length, but you can't connect your constellations to a shooting star. So if they draw their shooting star 1, 2, 3, and you just do a little star on the end to make sure that you did it, that they know what it is. Here, they could do one, and if they wanted to, we'll say theirs is just 2, and they can do wherever. You don't have to, it doesn't matter which side you draw it on. But now you can't connect any constellation, so it's a little along there. So it's a little bit, here, they'll do theirs here, and those score at the end, you score 1 point per line in shooting stars. And there can be multiple. You don't know how many got shuffled into these stacks. So that's all you do. You keep on going through these. Once they've finished this pile, you know you can't draw below this line anymore. And then for the next pile after that, you can't draw below this line. And then you have your final pile. It's only 18 cards you go through, and then you score. And then anytime during the game that you're able to draw a normal constellation, the shooting star doesn't count. You can draw 3 in a row, even if it's connected to other stuff. So if they were able to draw a constellation, they don't really have a good spot for it over here. They can't connect there. So anytime you're able to do this with one of your constellations, you get to immediately draw an extra line somewhere. And for this, just at the end of the game, you get an extra 3 points for any time you're able to make a plus sign. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It could be if this one, they were able to draw a plus sign and they have other lines coming off of it, then you'd score for that. So that's it. At the end of the game, once you have all of your everything drawn out on the board, you get to count once per your constellation. 2 doesn't count as a constellation, so you wouldn't get any points for any of those. You get to count one of your 3-line constellations. You only get to count them once. 1 for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you have one that's 9 lines, then it counts as 0, so don't do that. And then after that, the planets, if you have a constellation that touches any of the dots surrounding one of the planets on your board, it has to be a constellation, not a shooting star, you get 1 point per separate constellation. So even if you have a few of the 3-point constellations, it only counts once over here, but it still counts if it's next to a planet. You count up the number of individual lines for any shooting stars, and then these are your bonuses that you count up. And for this, there's not any scoring element for this one, but any of these that you have, you would get an extra 3 points at the end, and just tally up your score, and whoever has the most points is the winner.
So that's how to play Look at the Stars. The target demographic for this game is established gamers, somebody who already knows the term flippin' right or rollin' right and knows they like this type of game, will be very excited for this game. The rule complexity is very easy, however. This is a good game to introduce people to who haven't played a flippin' right before, because you see it, you draw it, it's very quick and easy to get going, especially with the base rules, but there is some hidden depth there if you bring in the more involved rules and bring in more of the advanced cards for future plays of the game. So easy to get going, but more if you need it for future gameplay. How competitive is this game? There is 0 player interaction besides comparing your scores at the end of the game, which depending on your group can be a pro or a con. We really like that, but I know other people prefer to have something where you can be getting somebody else as you're playing. And the only other thing is you're often fighting with people over turning the card to the angle that you want it so you can see it correctly to draw it on the board. That was the most player interaction as we played as a group. The replay value for this game is high just because it's so quick and easy to get going with the base rules, where I played this with my parents for the first time and we had an absolute blast and it was really quick to get started. I played it with my ladies game night group and very established, experienced gamers, but it was late and we were tired, and this went over really well because everybody could hang with the rules and still feel like they were playing a real game, but it wasn't anything tricky for a first time. But if we continue to play it, if I play it in the future with them, we can bring out more involved rules. So that makes it really nice. There's a lot of opportunities to play this game and a lot of people that will do well playing this game. Similar games, if you like this, Welcome to Your Perfect Home is kind of the holy grail of flippin' rights as far as I'm concerned. It is my favorite. And then if you want something that's like this, but maybe just a step or two easier, lighter, Super Mega Lucky Box is also very excellent, but we have been loving this. There's some really nice, the white chalk markers are really neat, and the whole theme is excellent. So highly recommend you should check it out. Look at the Stars. Thanks, and see you next time from Game Like a Mother.